What's going on, guys? Prepper School Live, number 24.
Volume 24.
Volume 24. Today, we're going to be talking about security, and we're going to go into three different sections. Security, not just concealed carry, not just self-defense, but a lot of things. We're living in a violent time right now, especially if you're living in a more Democratic-run area.
Yeah, well, anywhere. Just turn the news on.
Yeah, I mean, people seem to be turned on to just committing crime. So we're gonna talk about some things. But before we get started, we really appreciate Robbie Wheaton for being here, and Wheaton Arms or Robbie Wheaton YouTube channel. Check it out.
Yep.
Does a great job. A gunsmith for over 20 years, and then he also does Wheaton Arms. Glock aftermarket parts and accessories, and the flat face trigger is the best on the planet.
And still a little bit of custom gun work.
Yes, custom gun work.
Yeah.
Nitriding. He also does slide cuts. If you have a Glock or you have something that you want slide cuts, he does that. So
barrel threading, bolt handle threading. Those are a few things that we do.
Yeah.
So, but I tell you, the YouTube channel, dude, I have been having a blast with it. We got the Masada video up last week. We've got some new videos coming up this week that are done that should be published this afternoon or this evening. So we're just having a really good time with it.
Yeah, a lot of cool things, and it's great. This Robbie, I finally talked him into getting on it.
Yep. It's fun to be able to take. I've got a unique perspective from being kind of an industry insider for the last 20 something years, and to be able to take the things that I know from within the industry and share those with people,
right,
with firearms and accessories through my YouTube channel.
So. And you do it on a very layman's terms.
Yep.
So even I can understand it.
Well, that was one thing that my wife and I were talking about when we were getting ready to start doing this. She was like, "You understand this stuff at such a high level that you really need to take it back to the basics. And when you're talking about things, talk about it like you're talking to me, talking about my wife, to somebody that's not very experienced with firearms and knows a ton about firearms, not to the level that I do. But she was like, you gotta, just kind of bring it back to the basics so we understand what you're talking about.
So it's firearm knowledge for dummies. We get it.
Yeah.
But great resource, guys, and you need to check that out. Also, we appreciate Sarah Mack. She is over on the computer monitoring comments. If you have questions, you can go ahead and start asking them now, and she will note those, and then we'll take a break, and we take some questions, and we try to answer them.
Yep.
Also, we appreciate Sportsman's Guide for sponsoring today's episode. You get $20 off every $100 or more purchase using Sootch, no 00.
And check out their Buyers Club as well. Their Buyers Club, you get additional savings as well as free shipping on any order over $49.
So we really appreciate Sportsman's Guide. They're great guys. We use that code all the time. All the time. I'm serious. We buy stuff all the time on Sportsman's Guide.
And the best free magazine that you can get, hands down.
So anyway, and Exotac. Exotac is a great way to get fire started. They have some of the coolest fire starters out on the market. You get 20% off using Sootch20. Link down below in the description. Okay, enough of that. All right. We're going to talk about security, and we're going to break it up into home, into your vehicle, and then into just personal around and about when you're around about town. But we have talked about security all throughout because that is a very viable, very important part of prepping. And one of the biggest things, and we're going to talk about home first, but one of the biggest things that you can do is to keep your mouth shut. Now, you can talk about prepping. You can talk to others about prepping, but don't talk about what you have. If you're not careful, you get known for being a prepper. We have a major prepper in our area that everyone knows where he is. It's not his fault. It's not his fault, but everybody knows where he is, what he's got, and what he's doing. And so, the best thing to do is to keep that mouth shut. Doesn't mean that you're not going to want to help people to a point, because you need to. You need to take care of your family first, your friends, and those you love. But there's also going to be people out there that possibly need help, and we don't need to be too inclusive. We need to be able to help, but you've got to do it in a smart way. If you identify your place as a place for people where there's food, then you're going to get mobbed. So the best thing to do is to separate yourself from your location if you're going to help someone. And with that being said, first thing we're going to talk about is home. There's a number of different things. We have different threats. You have regular burglaries, but you have home invasions.
Mm-hmm.
And home invasions are going to be more or less. They're starting to ramp up even more,
Yep.
and they have over the past few years. People used to, if they thought you were home, they would stay away. They'd wait for you to go on vacation. Now they don't care. They'll get you before you even get into your home. So the first thing is situational awareness. Now, this is in all three categories.
Mm-hmm.
Situational awareness.
Well, it's so important. It's so important knowing what's going on around you. We're so many times we pull into our driveway late in the afternoon, pick the kids up from school, sports, whatever. We're thinking about dinner. We're thinking about baths. We're thinking about bedtime, all the millions of things that we have to do once we pull up in the driveway and go in the house. And we're not being situationally aware of what's going on around us at that moment,
right.
Which is one of those moments when you can be ambushed by someone and never see it coming.
Right.
That's out of all of the things we're talking about today, home, vehicle, and out and about or running the roads, we call it here in the South.
That's what he calls it.
Situational awareness at home when you're pulling into your driveway or you're going from your house out to your vehicle, I think is probably the most important out of the three that we're talking about today, because that's the area where most people are generally the least aware of what's going on around them, because they're home, they're in their safe space. They're not thinking about being in a place where they could be ambushed or hurt or killed or injured or robbed. And that's the last thing on their mind. They're thinking about the millions of other things that they have to do.
Right. We have a long list.
Yep. I know. But that one, all right. So look, I hit that one for all three. Boom, done.
Okay. But one thing, it's just like this afternoon, my wife pulls in with my son. They had been up to going to get their hair cut. They pull in, they're sitting there. I walk up to the car, look in the car, and I'm sitting there looking at them. They don't even know I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's texting. Grant had kind of fallen asleep because it was a little bit of a drive. And so I'm just sitting there waiting. And so finally I just tap on the window a little bit and she looks up and she does this. Well, now let me just put this little caveat in there. There was a truck down right at our driveway, just sitting there in the driveway, or out of the driveway, but in the cul-de-sac. We live in a cul-de-sac. They were sitting there. Now it was a power truck. It was a utility truck. So it wasn't a big deal. But she had no idea. Another thing is mornings, early mornings. A lot of crime happens then. A lot of times we don't think about it. You're going out to your car, especially if it's still dark. You're getting in your car. You're not thinking about it too much. There are lots of crimes that happen. A lot of times people are up all night already. They may be drugged out. They're out. They're looking for a score. And you don't want to be that score. So paying attention. Knowing what's happening. When we're driving, a lot of times you shouldn't be looking on your phone, even though a lot of people are doing it and they're acting like idiots. But, a lot of times you pull into your driveway, then you start checking your messages. You're not looking around and seeing what's going on. Situational awareness at home, knowing what's going on. One trick that has happened lately, it's just one of those tricks that people have been using, is they'll run over to your water spigot and they'll turn it on full blast and then they'll hide. And so you hear the water running, you're like, what the heck? And you go outside and your spigot's going, you're going, why is that? You walk over and then you're ambushed. So always keeping your eye. If you've gone out to your driveway 100 times, you need to always be aware that something could happen. So first thing, situational awareness. Second is having a good alarm system. And at this point right now, there are so many choices. It's not like you got to pay for an expensive system. Now here we have an expensive system. We pay monthly. It's monitored. The police come out if it goes off. We have cameras. We have all that stuff going on. On top of that, we have the ring system, and that's Robbie's situation.
Yep. I've been very, very pleased with that. And the ring is one of those things where we've got the cameras all around the outside of the house, but it's one of those, before I go outside for something, I check the cameras. No movement or anything. Nothing's going on outside. All right. I'm good to go outside. Nobody's within the area where they could ambush me when I go outside. So I always check the cameras before I go outside. And, I tell my wife,
who's going to ambush him? I'm just kidding.
There's that one guy. But, I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, look, check the cameras before you go outside. Don't be in such a hurry that you have to rush out the door. Take the time, check the cameras, be aware, be situationally aware.
Right. Now, one thing I love about Ring particularly is that you can actually talk to the person if there's somebody there. You don't have to be at home. You can be somewhere else and you can talk to that person. And rings are pretty inexpensive. I think 125, 150 bucks, something like that. He's used it before at his mom's place. He had one set up and somebody was coming up to break in. And he actually told him, he said, the police are on their way. And the guy took off running.
They did. That's right.
And they caught him.
Well, you know, it's nice too. Sometimes you get the UPS or FedEx, they make a delivery and they're walking up to just leave it on your front porch. And maybe you don't want it on the front porch. You pull the camera up and you're like, hey, can you put that around back for me?
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, no problem.
So security runs in a lot of different places, but home security, having a good system. And again, guys, it's very inexpensive. And with our phones and having apps, I can monitor anything that goes on.
That's right.
We have 3 Ring cameras here. And I'm thinking about adding a couple of extras just to have that total security. Another thing is that we have a driveway alarm. When the people pull into the driveway, the alarm goes off, and it is consistent.
Yep.
It is every time. And it was just a fairly inexpensive system off of Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's solar powered. So it's out there. It's being solar powered. It's been running for a couple of years now.
Right.
And I have a whole video on it. But we know when somebody's coming up, and the dogs know. As soon as they hear that alarm go off, they go running toward the window that shows our driveway. And so, you know, driveway alarms. Plus, with the driveway alarm, we have a light. And it's one of those floodlights, solar powered again. When they come through, the alarm goes off, then the light comes on, and it's blinding at night. But lighting is very important. So we'll move on into lighting.
Yep.
Having lighting around your house. Here's the thing that we think about, and I recommend you do this, is think about how to make it as uninviting as possible for a burglar.
Right.
Being on the Ring system, there are neighborhood rings all over, and there's a way to join into that where you can network and you can see where things are going on around you. So that's also another thing. A neighbor right behind us over here had a guy messing around in his driveway at 3 o'clock in the morning. He sent that out. I'm able to see it. I know that there's activity going on, so it helps me to be more aware. So having alarms, having lighting. One thing about it, if you have places that people can hide right next to your door, you want to get rid of that, or you want to try to mitigate that in some way. And so
it's like the shrubs and hedges that a lot of people plant around their house. They get 3, 4, 5 feet tall, and there's a little path on the backside of it where somebody can tuck in there behind.
Right.
And it's a good place for somebody that's looking to ambush you to hide.
Right.
You know, so if it's cool to have hedges. We want our yards to look nice and everything, but plant lower ones that people can't hide behind.
Well, and you know, I've had people over the years, because we've had some different situations happen, and they'll say, man, you must live in a bad area. I want to give you an example of Robbie in particular. He lives in a really nice neighborhood and lives, in fact, the first couple of times I had to use my GPS to get to it, because you have to really wind around and go up, and he lives up in this cul-de-sac. He had his wife's car broken into one night at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning.
Yep.
And he actually got the guys and waited for police. It took 40 minutes or 50 minutes for them to get there.
Right at 50 minutes.
And then he had a guy try to steal his trailer in the middle of the day. He has a trailer and came up there and tried to steal it. And how they found it is beyond me. But it doesn't matter where you live. You're not immune to having people mess around your place. So make it as inviting as possible.
Well, you know, I always say, if you're going to rob somebody, if you're going to steal something, you're not going to go to a less desirable area of town to try and steal something. You're going to go to a nicer area of town because, you know, generally it's a target-rich environment.
That's true. That's right. That's just like when yard sales. I always go to the nicer neighborhoods when I go to yard sales. Okay. And then we've talked about hidden places, but hidden places in on your property. One thing that we have when we come down the steps, there's a little cubby area between that and where we have mulch in our windows. And so when I'm leaving at night, or if I'm going out, I always kind of flash down there and just take a peek. And so again, that's situational awareness as well. Okay. And then having a safe, you know, it's according to what you have, but having a safe and being able to, you know, whether it's a wall safe where you can have your valuables, which I highly recommend, because a lot of times people find your gun safes, and you'll be surprised how easy it is to get into a gun safe with a circular saw.
Oh yeah.
Or like we had one safe, the lock went out, and when the locksmith came, he took a cordless drill and he knew the spot to do it, and he went zip, opened it right up. So, they're very vulnerable, but they are a good they do keep things, or they do add time. And that's one of the big things about your place is you want to make it to where it takes a lot of time for them to get to your valuables, because your alarm system, hopefully you've got one, it's going off,
Yep.
and then they're in a big hurry. And so you want to make it that way where they don't have the time. If they come in and they have all night, they can take everything you've got and you'd never even know it.
I always look at safes kind of like locks on your doors. They're there to keep honest people out.
Right.
They're not there. It's a buffer. It's a buffer to slow people down, slow criminals down. You lock your doors in your house because it makes it more difficult for someone to access it. You lock up your valuables because it makes it much more difficult for somebody to access it. You have alarms, you have cameras to be able to get the police notified if somebody is breaking in and trying to access your belongings and your stuff.
Right. That's right. It's something that is definitely one of those things that gives, when you can get the police involved, and you should always call 911 whenever you do that. Okay. Next is having a safe room. Now for us, we have a safe room for like if a storm comes too. I mean, it's kind of combined, but we also have it to where we can keep valuables in there. We can lock it down. We don't really have to worry. Now, somebody could get in it with maybe a sledgehammer and go through maybe the walls, but a lot of times they don't know it's there. But one thing I did want to mention is keep your doors locked. It's one of the big things. A lot of people, they just kind of go in and out and they don't lock their doors. Me, I am so used to it that when I walk out, I immediately hit that lock. And it's really bad when somebody has the dogs out and they're like, why'd you lock the door?
I couldn't tell you how many times I've locked my wife out of the house. I do the exact same thing. I walk in, as soon as I close the door, I lock the door. I mean, it's just, I don't even think about it. It's subconscious. And 5 minutes later, boom, 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 boom. Uh-oh.
I'm in trouble now.
Sorry, honey.
And your car doors. Now, one thing about car doors, there's a place here in town that's a very wealthy neighborhood. And the police, every year at a certain time, they go from door to door and they tell people, lock your car doors. It's time. It's that season. And sure enough, these people come through and they're just checking for car doors to be unlocked.
Target of opportunity.
So lock your car doors. Now, my wife used to say, well, then they'll bust my window out. Well, that could happen, but it's better than just inviting them in. It's like saying, come on in.
Well, and that's a big thing too about don't leave valuables in your vehicle. Don't leave things out in sight that would entice someone to want to break into your vehicle. A lot of times the console of my vehicle, I leave my console open. If I go to a store, one of the big box stores, I'll leave the console of my car open. So if somebody walks by looking, they can see there ain't nothing in there. So it reduces the risk of someone breaking in your vehicle if they look in there and they see that there's nothing in there for them.
Right. But one thing is you can also do is to have some kind of secure way to store your valuables in your car, which we'll get to vehicles in a second.
I didn't want to jump ahead.
No, I know you didn't. You're okay. But property assessment, looking over your property, looking over your yard, looking at fences, looking at different areas, and getting a good idea of where somebody could attack and try to, again, mitigate that risk. One thing that I was doing the other day, I was cutting down a bunch of limbs because our limbs kind of make this canopy over our drive. And so I started cutting some back because they were getting kind of low. Because Shannon has this Yukon, that thing's about 40 feet tall. So I'm cutting back all these limbs and I threw it in the back of my 4x4 and I'm driving them. And there's this natural bank that fits around and I was piling it on there. It's almost like camouflage. Now, this is something that goes into a different part of security. This is defensive. And so I have this dirt berm that fits around and it actually caves toward the house. So I can get up in there if I have any kind of threat coming from another direction. And then I could camouflage it. So there may be situations where you want some barriers that you can actually defend from. It may not be just from your house because a house is not a good place to defend from as far as somebody attacking.
That's concealment. That's not cover.
Right. It's not cover. Bullets will go straight through that house and just with no problem. Okay, let's see. Well, I'm trying to follow our list. We have so many things here, which we like to do because we like to give you guys a lot of information.
We're down to my favorite subject.
Yes, we
Firearms.
are down to it. Firearms, definitely something that is a big part of home defense. Now, you may live in a place that doesn't really allow for self-defense. I mean, that's really sad. There are places that have gotten more and more to where you do not have the right to protect yourself. You have the right. Your duty is to flee, and that goes against everything in my being. But the thing is thank goodness here in South Carolina and in a lot of other states, we have the castle doctrine.
That's right.
And that means that we do not have a responsibility to flee. We can stand our ground. So if somebody breaks into our house, I am full on legally to be able, as a self-defense, to
Protect yourself,
to protect myself, my
and
family, and my valuables.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to know your laws. Listen, a few years ago, I sat down and read through all of the South Carolina gun laws, read through them. And really it was a big eye opener, because it really helped me to kind of see the spirit that the laws are written in. And really, if you're a good person and you just want to do the right thing, you're fine. You're fine. But knowing your firearm laws. Now, also having a firearm accessible if someone breaks in. And I know a lot of people keep their guns in their safes, locked up at night. Maybe they have small kids. Maybe they have things like that. I know you guys have lock boxes that y'all use.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of the rooms in the house have lock boxes in them that are quickly accessible. Some of the digital fingerprint ones, some of them just have little buttons on it that you just push the buttons. But yeah, we've got those in several rooms in the house. Because here's the thing. If I'm downstairs in the kitchen cooking and somebody breaks into my house, I don't want to have to run upstairs to my bedroom to be able to get a gun. I want one right there in the kitchen where I'm at. Or, if I'm in the bathroom, in the shower, I don't have one, but it's one of those things that's on my bucket list, is to get me I want a shower gun. Because I mean, who here hasn't had that? You're in the shower, nobody else is at home, and you hear thump.
It's like a home invasion.
What was that? And you're in the shower, you're like, they're coming for me. They're going to catch me in here in the bathroom naked.
I'm going to run out naked.
Yeah, exactly. See, you've had that same thought before too, right? You all have.
I don't, because I keep a gun in there with me all the time. I've got a gun in there with me.
But not in the shower.
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want one in the shower with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lock box in the bathroom on the counter beside the sink, but there's not one actually in the shower. So it's like 4 feet away, 5 feet away.
Well, we don't have them in lock boxes around here. Now there are other ways to conceal them. We have one of the mirrors you can lift up, and then you keep a gun right there. We have a clock, and you actually just hit a button and it'll drop, and you got a gun. We have a magnet next to our water filtration system, and we have a Glock model 27 sitting up there. You never will see it unless you look up under the cabinet. And so there are other ways to be able to hide your guns. If you have small kids, that's definitely something to consider. My kids, well, yours did too, but my kids grew up with, I'm coming in with guns. I'm dumping them on the table to sort them out, to do reviews and stuff. And so my kids all the time were so used to it, we didn't have any problems with that.
And I don't keep my stuff in lock boxes because of my kids, because my boys they're the same way. I mean, there's always been guns around. They're walking the house. Mama, Daddy left his gun on the island. There's always been firearms around our house, and they were told at a very young age to respect them. But I keep them locked up because of all of their friends. Their friends coming over who may not have the same upbringing and know about firearms like my boys do. So I keep everything locked up just because of all their friends that come over.
Right, and that's smart. Yeah, that is smart. But two, you don't want somebody breaking into your home and stealing those things easy access to them.
Yep.
But if you have a security system and all that, it's gonna keep that down. Also having non-lethal options. Now, I'm not as big on non-lethal in a home because I'm trying to protect my family, and I want the most effective way. I don't want to grab a baseball bat and fight some guy that as soon as I swing it, he's going to grab it and pull it back and knock me upside the head. I don't want to. It's not a fair fight. There is no fair fight. It's me or you, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to win that fight. So in my home, that's the way I look at it. We're going to look at vehicles a little bit different. You should have some non-lethal options in a vehicle, but in your home, to me, non-lethal is no way. I'm not looking for that. Even though I do keep pepper spray, especially in my shop. Now that's a little different. I have my shop. I keep a big bear spray right there. If for some reason somebody's messing around out there, I might just step out and just spray them instead of shooting them. But definitely, it could be an option, and you have to weigh that out for yourself. But like a golf club or a baseball bat or something like that, you're asking for it to be taken away from you. And so, because it could be 3 or 4 guys. And if it's 3 or 4, and that's the MO lately is they're coming in packs.
Yep.
It's not just one person.
Well, and here's the thing: a golf club or a baseball bat, in a lot of cases, is not nearly as effective as you think it is.
No. I mean, somebody come at me with one, I mean, I might get hit once, but I'm going to take that thing away from them sooner or later.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or, if you step inside somebody's guard when they've got a baseball bat, there's no way they can get any power to generate a hard hit.
Right.
So, there are things like that. If you don't train with it and aren't familiar with how to use it and use it effectively, a lot of times it can be more dangerous than it can helpful to you.
Or you can pull out some nunchucks.
That's right.
And then they pull out a gun and shoot you. Okay, community watch. Neighborhood watches, those are great. One thing I love about neighborhood watches, of course, obviously, is you have people that are watching, but you can look on their website and you can see where crimes have actually happened in your area. And so it's a good way to monitor. If things are starting to ramp up and you're having some issues, you can kind of be even extra careful.
Yep. And, I look at the Ring almost like the 21st century neighborhood watch, because it does offer that feature to where you can look at community-based crime and see what's going on around you in your area with people that have the Ring.
That's true. That's true. One thing I like it is, like, I have one over at my shop, which is at my mom and dad's house. It's right there on the property. Mm-hmm. So when they go in and out or somebody comes over to their house, I get a notification. I pop it up. I can watch them, and I can watch the car that pulled in. And if I don't recognize that car, I can go over and check it out.
Yep.
So, it gives you some things. Okay, dogs. Dogs are great security. Now, you can, even if you get a small little lap dog, it can give you a warning. And to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So whether your dog is like my dog, which we have a big German Shepherd, and he is not very sociable when it comes to strangers, which he has proven that a few times.
Or like my dog is a big old basset hound that'll just lick you to death.
Yeah, but he'll bark. He'll bark.
Yes.
Our
definitely.
pug will let you know that somebody's coming down the driveway. So those are some things that are around the home. Those are security. We went through it pretty fast because we have some other things. Now, if you have some questions, this is a great time to be able to come in, and Sarah Mac will call them off, and we'll see what we have. And then we'll take questions again later.
Blue Vandal asks, is there any downfall in keeping your magazines loaded at all times?
Yes. Fully loaded. If your magazine is fully loaded, the spring is compressed beyond coil bind in the bottom of the magazine. So what you always want to do is download your magazine by about 3 rounds, and that frees up some coil space, and your magazine springs will last a lot longer.
Now, if you have a Glock 26, that's going. I mean, a Glock Model 42 or 3, that's going to give you 3 rounds.
Right.
Well,
and I'm speaking more of like high capacity magazines than I am on single stack magazines. Generally, single stack magazines, I download those by 1 round, and it does about the same thing as downloading a double stack mag by 3.
Now, I wouldn't say though, as far that over long term, to me, the best option is to load your magazine, carry it like you're going to do it, and after about a couple of months, unload that magazine. And make sure you have a fresh magazine or do something like that. Rotating your magazines, taking it out and shooting it. And, that to me, but Robbie's right. Downloading it at least 1 or 2 rounds is definitely helpful. 3 rounds is even better. Even with your AR-15.
Absolutely.
The military only goes with about 28 rounds.
Yeah, I do. I've always done 27. I do 27.
Robbie's all about the 3s.
Yep. It makes it easy. Well, it makes it easy for me to count too, because if I'm shooting, and I know when I hit 26 rounds, I've got 1 round left in the chamber. It's time for a reload.
Right.
So that's why I always do odd numbers instead of even numbers, because if I'm counting my rounds when I'm shooting, I know when I hit a certain even number that it's time to do a mag change.
And counting your rounds is smart. Yep. It's important when you train, when you go to the range, counting your rounds, knowing when you're going to have that slide lock, because you want to make sure that you're ready.
Yeah, I always try and prevent slide lock. I love to leave 1 round left in the chamber. I can reload it, and then my pistol or rifle is still hot. Versus running it to slide lock in a stressful situation. You throw a mag in, maybe you over insert the magazine, it locks the gun up, and it's easy to do with a 1911. You can over insert a mag when the pistol's at slide lock, and then the gun will get stuck. You can't get the slide to go forward, you can't get it to go back, you can't get the magazine out, so it induces a really bad jam.
John Bahadur asks, your opinion on wire and wireless cameras?
Well, typically wireless cameras are run by solar or some kind of battery backup. That's fine. But one thing is that we've experienced, because our Ring systems are actually rechargeable batteries.
Yep. And wireless.
Yeah, they're wireless.
Yep.
And one thing about the rechargeable batteries is they can run out after time. Of course, you can have solar panels to mitigate that, that. And we've had them to kind of come down, and we may be out of town when the batteries are starting to run low. So that is part of just the wireless. But the real wireless part, obviously, is, set up to a system. Now, I like to have my access to wireless on my phone because I can access that from anywhere. We can be down at the coast, at the beach, having a great time, and then I can get a notification and I can address it.
Well, one of the things that I've looked at is I've got a wired system in my shop as well as the Ring. And I think your video quality with the cameras and everything that are out there today, the video quality with wireless is as good or better than anything wired that you can get. Wired is a lot more difficult to install. It's a lot more difficult to replace because you're up in the attic crawl space and stuff. You're pulling wires, running the wires for the cameras so you can wire the cameras in. So it's a lot more work unless you're doing new construction to install a wired system. And cameras are like anything electronic. They're upgrading and updating so much and so fast now that you may put a wired camera system in now that 6 months is completely outdated. So with the wireless systems, it's much easier to install. It's much easier to set up. And with everything working on Wi-Fi now, they're very durable and very reliable.
Yeah, and two, if your power goes out, if they cut the power,
that's right.
You could lose your cameras. Whereas on wireless, you're not necessarily going to.
Bittersweet ask, my only means of protecting myself is with pepper spray that shoots out 12 feet. Can I safely discharge this in my apartment if someone breaks in without me being affected by the spray?
Yes. Yeah, you can. You want to just be careful. The one thing is wind is one of the things. If you're out somewhere, is the breeze can blow it back on you. But if someone's coming in the door and you spray it, you should be okay, unless then you walk into the doorway.
Right.
But you should really be walking away from the situation.
The pepper spray is really used for you to create space and create distance and separation from an attacker. So, and if it's, a lot of people buy the little small ones that just shoot out a stream. Those streams you expend it very quickly. And they're also difficult to aim in a stressful situation. So I really recommend getting more of a fogger system that sprays out a big fog. You don't have to be nearly as precise with that as you do with the little keychain streams that they shoot out.
Well, Kimber makes a really cool pepper spray gun. It has 2 different cylinders. In fact, I bought one for all of my family.
Yeah.
And you want to go for the eyes. That's where you want to go. You don't want to just spray them. You want to shoot them right in the eyes, and that's the most effective. But know this, the pepper spray is not always effective on everybody. It can be different. But it definitely, I really think pepper spray is a great option, and I didn't always think that. But watching, especially, and we'll get into this with the vehicles, with what's going on with those riots that happened. I mean, a firearm is not necessarily the answer, but pepper spray can be.
Yep.
Corvus for Eomer ask, are things relatively more dangerous in America? I am asking because you guys are allowed to be seriously armed. How many dangerous situations have you guys been in?
I have friends from other countries, and they look at us and they go, wow, y'all are like crazy over there. But here's our problem. This is our biggest problem, is drugs. The drug cartels, the drug gangs, the drug addicts. I mean, we've got a real problem, whether it's fentanyl or, whatever it is. I mean, there's a ton of different drugs out there. Right. And once people get hooked on that, it's like they got to get their fix, and they'll do whatever they have to.
That's right.
That is the number one problem. I mean, we have the same kind of problems everybody else does with domestic abuse and stuff like that all countries have.
Yep.
But our biggest problem, and the reason why we have to be armed, really, is because of drugs.
I would say drugs are probably a leading, as far as violent crime, and even nonviolent crime. Drugs are probably the leading. What leads most people to commit crimes.
Right. I agree.
They're trying to get money to get more drugs, or, a drug deal gone bad and, somebody attacks someone, but a lot of our problems in our country stem back to drugs.
And unfortunately, we're getting, and I'll just say this because this is the truth, because I have a buddy of mine that works at a club, and there is a huge club, Hispanic club right there next to his. And there's a lot of people that are immigrants that are coming over the border from South America and all those places. And they tend to be just a lot of times more violent in some ways. And so there's a lot, they have no hesitation to kill someone. And I'm not putting everybody in that picture because that's not the truth, but there're just a lot that are coming that's actually making this more of a problem. There's definitely a lot of great people that are coming over the border. So I don't mean it that way, but the big thing is it is bringing a lot of gangs, MS-13, things like that. But you get into some of these poverty areas, the drugs are so thick. That is the reason we have the problems we have.
Arm West asked, my security cameras are Arlo. They work through Wi-Fi. Is there any way to set up your own Wi-Fi if cable services go down? Arlo will still work.
Yeah, that could be a problem. In fact, we had that problem this weekend. We went out of town, and we have the guy that built the house has a switch that just cuts off all the power, including the outlets, to our living room where we have one of our Wi-Fi's. We have 3 different Wi-Fi's, but it shut it off. The problem is it no longer had a signal. So for our front door, our ring was offline. Mm-hmm. We still had our regular system, thank God. We had that going, but it made it dead. So that can be an issue for us. Of course, with your phone, you can have a hotspot, but that's not going to help you if you're not home.
Yeah, you would have to set up a mobile wireless hotspot in your house in case your cable went down, to be able to sync that with your camera system. That way they would still work and be online. Yeah,
to be honest, there was something this weekend. We were only gone for one night, but when they went down, I was like, okay, I know this. I know the reason. Mm-hmm. We knew exactly why, but unfortunately, I have to do something about that as well. I want to make sure that my system is working if the power goes out and it knocks out the internet. So good point.
FB Drivers Training Network asks, question, how much overlapping of cameras do you recommend?
Well, you want to get, especially areas that people are going to access, like down our driveway. I mean, that's a big one. We have a number of cameras, but we have one that's over our garage, which we keep a lot of things in there that we want to protect. But Lance is in here, so that's a redundancy. But also, the areas where people are going to be coming, because you want to, especially around your doors, you want for that camera to be able to spot anything where people are coming in. So, I have a friend of mine that actually knows where his cameras are. It's the same guy at the club. He knows where his cameras are, and he knows where to get in case somebody's causing a lot of problems and he doesn't want to get sued for punching them. So he gets into this one corner where he knows they're not going to see it, and he whops the crap out of them. But I mean, cameras can be used for different things.
And that's a big thing with my camera system is I have my viewable areas overlap one another, so I don't have blind spots. That's one of the big things with cameras is a lot of times you can look at cameras and pick out where blind spots are if they have them. So that was one thing I was pretty meticulous about when I was setting all my cameras up, was to eliminate any blind spots with my overlap with my cameras.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to our next subject. We'll get to some questions in a minute. Okay, we're going to talk about vehicles. Mm-hmm. Now, first off, again, situational awareness. That's a no-brainer. Knowing what's going on around you. And also knowing the laws of your state for transporting firearms, for if you can use pepper spray, right. if you can have a tire checker in your car,
lethal or less lethal option.
Yeah, you need to know those things because you can't obviously get pulled over. And it seems like the more strict gun laws they have, the more the police are out to search your vehicle under some pretense. Just to be honest, because I've seen it a number of times. So know your laws as far as in your vehicle. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now let's talk about number one. This is probably the most biggest problem as far as driving is road rage.
Yep.
Road rage is out of control. People are doing stupid stuff. People are pulling out guns and shooting just because somebody cut them off, and they feel justified to do that. Let me just say that road rage, especially if you're carrying some kind of self-defense option in your vehicle, you have a responsibility to not have road rage.
Yeah.
If someone cuts you off, if someone's blowing the horn, if somebody goes by and they shoot you a bird, and this is one thing that really kind of came when I was reading the South Carolina gun law. You don't want to escalate the problem. If they want to shoot a bird, if they want to cut you off, if they want to act ugly, let them go. Just let them do it, and know that I have a firearm in here, and I'm not gonna let my ego take that, because I know I have power. I mean, that's pretty much. So when you're driving and they do that, you just wave, and and I'm gonna tell you, it's difficult. I understand that, because I can get fired up as well, but I have to make sure that I maintain my composure and I don't let ego get in the way. And, for me, when somebody does something that cuts me off, it's like they're being inconsiderate. It makes me mad. But you know what? They're just driving like whatever.
I've got to the point now that if somebody's tailgating me, riding my bumper, I'll just pull over on the side of the road, let them go by. With the hope that 3 miles up the road, there's that state trooper sitting there waiting.
Most definitely. But yeah, road rage, guys, is a real bad problem, and you need not to escalate. Now, there are times, and I have been in a situation. I talked about this years ago on Why I Own a Gun, that these two guys would not stop. And I was just driving, and I just ignored them, and I ignored them, and I ignored them. And finally, the ignoring was gone, because they were set on running me off the road and whatever they were planning to do. And, we had to get to a certain point to where I had to say, enough's enough. But that is where, in a court of law, because you are so calm and composed and you're not doing anything, and they continue, that if you do have to use that self-defense option, it's justifiable. It is self-defense. And so that's one thing, just to be careful of, guys, because road rage is a problem. So then situational awareness, again, very important to know what's going on around you. If you see some guy weaving in and out of traffic, acting like an idiot, it's best to kind of stay away from that person. That's kind of let him go by. And, not get mad and start raising Cain. Defensive driving. That's been something for years that we've always talked about. Defensive driving, not offensive, but defensive driving. Knowing when somebody slams on their brakes, you don't need to be riding up on their butt, because then when you hit them, it's your fault. So, knowing what's going on around you, not letting people put pressure on you to do certain things. Typically, I don't, because I drive pretty fast. But
defensive driving really goes back to situational awareness and road rage. And a lot of times you see that person coming up behind you, weaving in and out of traffic like this, is driving like a madman. Just move over. Defensive driving is moving over and getting out of the way so that jackleg doesn't run into you.
Right. Or letting him, just backing it off a little bit. One thing is that's big is noticing all of a sudden you see brake lights. You're on a freeway, all of a sudden you start seeing brake lights. Go ahead and react to that. If you're on your phone and you're piddling around, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, and then you hit someone or whatever. The thing is knowing what's going on.
Well, I'm really glad that you brought that up. Being on the interstate and seeing all the brake lights up ahead. The first thing that I do, if I see that and I'm able to, I get over in the far right-hand lane where the emergency lane is. And the reason that I do that is those people coming up behind me that are on their phone, that are not paying attention to what they're doing. It gives me the opportunity defensively to watch what's going on behind me. And if I see somebody coming up behind me that's not paying attention, I'm able to move over into the emergency lane to keep them from running into me.
Right. That's right. And,
so if you're stuck over in the far left-hand lane, there's a retaining wall or whatever, and you've got nowhere to go, you're trapped there. I always like to have an escape route, and being over in the far right-hand lane where the emergency lane is, it gives me an escape route.
And I start tapping my brakes. If I'm seeing a bunch of brake lights, I'll just start tapping my brakes even before I'm starting to slow down, just to let people know that there's something going on ahead. Having an emergency kit in your vehicle, having a trauma kit, having some emergency supplies, that's really big for security, because something can happen to you. So having that together, having your get home bag in your vehicle. Now, one thing about it, and we talked about this, people can come through and they break in your car and they take it. It happened to my brother. He had his car broken into. They took his get home bag. He was more ill about that than the broken window. But, the thing is secure those items, but you need to have them with you. I did a video about a day where I actually used 3 different things in my get home bag to get me home. It can be just regular things like a road map.
Yeah.
It can be, paracord because something on your car is coming loose. You want to, or duct tape or whatever. But having some things in your bag, in your emergency kit, and in your go bag, you can use those things in a bad situation. One time I ran out of gas. This is hilarious because I'm driving and I'm in the Hummer and the light came on and I was like, well, I probably have about 3 gallons and I was almost to my destination.
Yep.
But what I didn't know, in this car, when the light comes on, you got about a mile and that thing goes wonk. And so we're on the side of the freeway and cars are blowing by. It's about 9:00 at night. And then I had my brother-in-law bring me some gas, and he brought the gas can. Well, when he put it in there, there's a gap in the Hummer about this big. Could not get it
nozzle.
Wouldn't pour in because of those safety nozzles. Ended up getting in my go bag, pulled out a bandana, tied it around that safety port, and pulled it back, and was able to get gas. Never know. You just never know. Always good to have your extra items because it could be just a regular situation. Me, the prepper, running out of gas. Isn't that something? Hey, I'm just telling you about it. Okay. Again, know your firearm laws. Know how to transport your firearms. Here in South Carolina, if you don't have a concealed carry permit, you can put it in your glove box, fully loaded. You can put it in your console, fully loaded, or you can put it in the back. But knowing those laws when you go to different states, if you're traveling, because it'll save you. There was a guy that was driving through New Jersey, and he took his firearm. He knew he wasn't supposed to have it, so he takes his firearm. He puts it in the trunk, locks it down. He gets in a wreck. The trunk flies open. The pistol goes flying out and skids down the road. When the cops get there, they arrest him. So be careful. Make sure that you don't just last minute go, oh, I need to do this. Think about what you're doing and think it through because there are situations where other states, there's a lot more stringent gun laws, or you may come to a good state like South Carolina. Don't come to South Carolina. We got enough people moving down here already. Unless you're a good constitutional person, then you can come down here. Having non-lethal options, pepper spray, tire checkers.
Yep. I'm a big fan of the bear spray.
Yeah.
Bear spray. I like bear spray over pepper spray because it produces such a large fan of spray. And, you can clear a crowd with it.
Well, active self-protection. John Correa does a great job, and he has a compilation of things where he said the pepper spray challenge or whatever, and it shows different times on surveillance or dash cams where people have used pepper spray effectively. And it really diffuses the situation.
Oh, yeah. And, one of the big things to remember if you're ever carrying pepper spray or bear spray or anything like that, don't leave it in your car in the summertime. The cans can rupture, and if the can ruptures inside your vehicle, you will not enter that vehicle.
It's worse than a skunk.
For quite some time. Yeah.
And then if you do have some issues, don't hesitate to call 911 because this is the thing, guys. And this is also with your home. It's also when you're out and about. Whoever calls 911 first is regarded as the victim.
That's right.
So call 911. If somebody's messing around with you, don't hesitate. Just go ahead and call 911, call the highway patrol, whoever, and say, hey, I'm being accosted. And even before things get out of hand. And that way you've made the call. So if something does happen later on down the road, well, they called 911. They were trying to stop the situation.
It's already been documented.
Okay, we're going to go to out and about because we have about 10 minutes. So we don't want to, and then we're going to take some questions at the end. Situational awareness again, guys. And that is the one thing, situational awareness. One thing I want to add to this, though, and I want to add it into all three, is mindset. Having a mindset to do what you've got to do to defend yourself and your family, to survive. One thing I heard years ago, it said, be hard to kill. Just be hard to kill. And they may kill you, but you're going to make it really hard on them. And you're going to give it back to them.
Don't walk around spending your whole life in condition green, just oblivious to everything that's going on around you. Always be in condition yellow. Always be alert, paying attention, watching what's going on, watching people that are around you. You pull into a parking lot, you pull into a parking spot at your big box store. Look around. Look around at the people as you're pulling in. Look around the people standing. Look around people sitting in their cars as you're pulling in. Be aware of people that are around you anytime and anywhere in anything that you're doing.
And I would say that especially for ladies.
Yep.
If you're getting into your car in a parking lot and there is somebody sitting in the passenger seat, note that.
Of the car beside you.
Yes,
Yep.
the car beside you. Note
Mhm.
that, because there have been a lot of cases where they are just waiting for you to get in
Yep.
that car. They'll open the door and then there you are. So being aware, being able to get away from that situation if you need to. One thing that we talked about a while back in one of our sessions, if you get in the car and somebody just gets in the car with you and puts a knife on you or a gun and they say, just drive. What you do is you gun it and you just wreck the car right there. You just wreck it. Don't leave that parking lot with that person because you may not come back.
Yep.
And we've seen this in the news over and over and over and over. So be ready to say, again, I'm gonna do something radical here if I have to. Okay, so let's see what we got.
Get off your phone.
Get off your phone.
Get off your
Get
phone.
off your phone. Get into a safe location where there are people around.
How many people do you see walking around like this all the time? Phone up, face in it. They don't even know the world exists outside of this. All right. Put it in your pocket. Put these things away. Pay attention to the world. Pay attention to what's going on.
Right. There's a time for that.
That's right.
Gray man. Gray man. And we've all heard that. Gray man means that I just blend in.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean you're wearing gray clothes, but it means you're just blending in with everyone else.
That's right.
You act like you're part of what's going on. You don't stand around and looking around like you're lost, like you're a tourist, wherever you are. And we can look that way when we go to somewhere new, but being able to blend in, don't stand out. Years ago, and I'll never forget this. We were in Chicago, went to this really nice restaurant, and I was getting ready to get on the plane, and I had this really bright colored shirt. I don't know why I had it on, but I had this bright colored shirt on. We walk into this restaurant, and everybody's in there, and they're all in suits and ties, and they're all like, howdy-toddy. And it was funny. I walked in, and people just kind of looked at me because I was this bright orange spot, which leads just to the idea of dress and to blend in.
Yep.
And then just try to keep yourself from being nondescript. People, they don't really even think about you when you walk by. And you just become that gray man, especially when crime can get a little bit over the top. It's better to stay in that low key, doing those things and one thing too is don't go down a dark alley to take a shortcut. Stay in well-lit areas, stay where there are people around, try to travel those. You might be able to, I'm not going to follow the crowd. I'm gonna go this way. And you end up being alone, sitting there, and then boom.
It's like when you pull into a parking lot late afternoon, evening, especially women, but men as well. When you pull into a parking lot to park and you're going to be in the store for a while and it's probably going to be dark when you come out, park under a light pole.
Yeah.
That way there's light on your vehicle and around your vehicle.
Right.
It's just little things like that. A lot of times we just don't think about.
Right. Just use your sense. And if you're in condition yellow, you will be more out to do that.
Yep.
Especially like when you're meeting someone. Now, this is something like if you're on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, some of these different ways where people go and meet. Go somewhere like to a police station.
Absolutely.
Or go to a well-lit parking lot that has a lot of people in it. Go somewhere where there's a lot of people.
Yep.
Because, my mother-in-law did that recently. She was taking my brother-in-law. They went down to look at a truck. She rode with him. And when they got there, they said, hey, we're here. And he goes, oh, well, I'm around the side over here in this dark area. They were like, well, you can come over here because we're here. And it was really sketchy. And then when the truck pulled up, it wasn't the same truck that was in the picture. So be aware. People are out there doing things. Okay, let me see. Concealed carry. Guys, if you are a concealed carry holder, carry your gun.
Yep.
Don't just carry it when you think you're going to need it, because that's not when you're going to need it. You're going to need it whenever. When you need a concealed carry is the least expected thing you're going to face.
That's right.
So,
and train with it. And train with it. Be proficient with it.
Yeah. I mean, that is vital. And then if you can, have some kind of trauma kit. You may want to have a little pack. You may want to have it. There's ankle kits. I know John Lovell, the Warrior Poet, I did a review on his. It's just a little ankle kit that has your trauma stuff. Kit. Yep. And so, having some supplies. Okay. So that kind of wraps that up, but let's take some questions and we'll finish things out.
And, a big thing, avoid bad areas. If you know that an area is notoriously high in crime, try and avoid that area. Try and avoid stores, restaurants, places, anything where crime is higher in that area. Stay away from those areas. Go somewhere else.
That's right.
Lucky 13 driver asked, is it worth lighting up the exterior of the house? Another layer of security.
Yes, definitely having floodlights, having different type lights, motion sensor lights. even the lights that shine up on your
Mhm.
house.
Yep.
Again, think about it. If you're looking down your street at a number of houses, if you live like in a neighborhood, what is the house that you're least likely to go to?
The one that's got the lights all around it, that's lit up like
If
a
you're
Christmas
gonna,
tree.
yeah, if you're gonna break in,
Mm-hmm.
mimic that.
Yep.
Mimic that and think, okay, if I'm looking at this house, this does not, have a security sign in your yard, having a beware of dog sign. Now you might run off the Amazon guy, but have some different, things like that. Some people put a dog bowl up at on their porch and things like that, even if they don't have a dog.
FB Drivers Training Network asks, question, true or false? Everything that conceals you also conceals them. So how do you limit this?
Well, I would look at it as, like, for me, it's according to, like, if I'm walking right out of my house and there's a spot there that I could be ambushed from, I want to do away with that. But and here's the thing, what conceals them is really your priority. That is your priority, because what conceals you is something that would be different than normal.
Right. Right.
I mean, it would be like things have to really ramp up for you to have to worry about concealing yourself.
It's like I'm not hiding behind my bushes after dark.
Yeah.
Not hiding behind them in the daytime either.
But if you're trying to get out of your house and you have a defensive situation and you have like a mob coming, I mean, let's go full on crazy road warrior stuff, and you have places around your house that you need to get to, that is consideration. But the one thing that I would focus on right now is protecting yourself from them having a hiding spot.
Right.
I mean, that's just, and that doesn't apply to every situation, but that is what I would, that would be my main focus.
Modern Day Prepper asks, what's your opinion on Fit Hop's trip lines for uncommon points of entry? I saw the review video and purchased a few, but have not set them up yet, as I have been saving them for SHTF events.
Those are awesome. Those tripwires, putting in blanks, putting in shotgun primers. I mean, there's a ton of different things you can use. They're loud. It'll scare the crap out of anybody that comes up. Yeah, I mean, and I'm with you. I don't employ them around my place because sure as heck I'm going to come up the steps and not think about it. But yes, I think those are great, and definitely for an SHTF situation like my back porch, I've already got everything set up. I just have to hook it in.
Mm-hmm.
My front porch, even want to do that. I mean, if I want to do something in different places, it's tools in your toolbox. And so when you need them, you have them.
It's another layer.
Yeah, another layer. So if things start to ramp up, you can do that.
That's right.
I think that's a great idea.
NMR asks, question, can I protect my neighbor's home with my firearm if it is broken into while they are away from their house or out of town? They are in favor of me taking this action.
Check your local laws.
It depends. That's right. It depends on your state law. Some states allow it. Some states do not.
One thing that in South Carolina, it's
alter ego
rule. If let's say I'm at a gas station, I'm getting gas, there's a guy over here, and some guy comes up and starts beating the crap out of him and is trying to choke him, I have legal full self-defense, just like if he was attacking me. Right. I can protect that person. Now, when it comes to property, it's a little bit different. I know in Texas, you can do that. You can protect others' property, and especially if you have permission. And if your neighbor says, you know what, would you watch my place?
Sure. You
have total permission to do that.
Yeah. Check your own state laws because they can vary.
Yeah. Because you can go to a state and they'll say, nope. You just live and let live.
Yeah.
And then you end up, in a mess. But yeah, check that out.
Linda Carter asks, question, what are the best brand of pepper spray or bear sprays?
Saber Red.
Saber Red's a good one.
Saber Red. Yep. The lot of law enforcement uses that, military, and that's just my go-to. There's some others that are pretty good. I think Palm is one that I've actually had. I like, and I like the Kimber little pepper guns with the 2 shots. I like that. It's really safe to carry. And you can slip it in your pocketbook. You can pull it out. You've got 2 shots instead of just one, and it's pretty effective. And you can aim it.
With the bear spray, they make some different kinds. Look at the one that actually has the dye in it. They have them that have like orange or red or pink dyes. So if you do have to deploy it, you will stain someone whatever color you spray them.
And then the law enforcement can.
That's right. It makes it easier for them to identify them later.
And if you do that, call 911. Now, you may need to get out of the situation, but call 911. Always. Let's go with one more question. We're going to wrap it up.
Vince Carroll asks, question, drones for SHTF? I have some recreational purposes, but seems like it would be good for surveillance in an SHTF situation.
Definitely. I mean, the U.S. military uses them extensively in a lot of countries.
Look at how much they're being used right now in the Ukraine.
Yeah. I mean, it's intelligence.
That's right.
It gives you an idea of what's going on around you. I think drones are awesome.
Absolutely.
I think you should definitely, use that for surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
And you can check around your area. I mean, how great would that be? You know what? I don't know what's going on behind my house. Let me see.
Yeah.
My camera's out.
Or 3 to 5 miles away.
Yeah.
You can see, you can use it almost like a forward observer.
Yeah.
So you know what's going on around you, coming toward you, moving away from you. But yes, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Great questions. Thank
Yeah.
you for being here. Hope this puts you in the mindset. But first off, situational awareness will help with a lot of these things. It'll keep you from ever having to use a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
Being able to back off, being able to see what's going on, being able to avoid the situation. And again, we appreciate Sportsman's Guide for sponsoring today's episode. You get $20 off every $100 or more purchase using Sootch. No 00.
Yep. And check out the Buyers Club as well. You get additional savings as well as free shipping on any order over $49.
That's right. And we use it quite a bit. And we really appreciate Sarah Mack for answering and following up with questions and setting everything up. And we appreciate Robbie Wheaton for being here. Again, check out his YouTube channel. You can put in Robbie Wheaton. You can put in Wheaton Arms.
Yep.
He's just all over the place. So, and also his aftermarket Glock parts. And he does custom gun work that's really exceptional. So we really appreciate you being here.
Good to be here. I enjoy it.
All right, guys. Hope, and again, this will be on the Prepper School playlist. This is number 24, but you can go down and we keep it in that playlist so you can watch different ones if you want to. It always amazes me that we have a number of people that come and watch it live, but then it triples and quadruples
That's right.
out there. So people watch it. So don't feel weird because you're going back and watching it live. It's already over.
Yep.
Be strong. Be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.